about to get real, keep it live, that's right. From Pennsylvania to across the globe, it's time for this Steelers All-Star Show.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-hosts, Nick and Jill. Folks, how are you doing on this Victory Monday?
You know, James, if I could find the terrible towel that wasn't pinned to the wall already, I'd be twirling it around. It's a Victory Monday. There we go. I'm going to be cracking one of these. We're not sponsored. It's not alcohol. It's Mountain Dew. I wish I was sponsored by Mountain Dew. But, you know, the Steelers, in the words of the Mountain Dew catchphrase, did their business. They did what they needed to do. They got that W, made a difficult Monday a whole lot better. Jill, how are you this evening?
Listen, we're recovering because your teachers are on Christmas break at this point, praise God, but that is also when our bodies just decide to shut down. So I got some allergies going on, but Victory Monday makes it 10 million times better. So James, how you doing?
Very good. And luckily for us, the Steelers are not allergic to these W's they keep putting on the board. So that makes these stacking them up. They're stacking them up. They're piling them up. It's 3 in a row. That's a habit now. 3's a habit, right?
Yeah.
So once or twice could be an accident, but 3 times is a habit. This is a habit I can get used to. That's for sure. Especially 3 wins in December already. Come on. We're not used to this. This has not been the trend the last few years. Awesome. Very, very important victory. And there's going to be some awesome highlights from this game that we're going to talk about too. Some things that we haven't seen all year from this team. Just tremendous outputs by certain individuals and certain groups as well. So we're going to talk about a lot of this, but we do have some stuff previous to the game to touch base with real quick, including elevations of offensive tackle Jack Driscoll and defensive back/corner Daryl Porter, which put 2 Porters on the field in this game and ended up more necessary than we would have hoped it to have been. That side kind of says it perfectly, Nick. Absolutely perfectly. And we'll cover the inactives real quick, too, just to get them out of the way. Roman Wilson was a healthy scratch once again. Will Howard, the number 3 quarterback. Caleb Johnson, a healthy scratch, which is kind of a new thing there. But the way the game played out, that didn't make a difference at all. James Pierre with that calf injury, still not able to go. Nick Herbig with a hamstring. Got some limited work late in the week, but unable to go. Isaac Seumalo with a tricep, still unable to go. TJ Watt with this lung incident, still unable to go. So that's your inactives going into the game. But, man, there were certain points in this game you didn't know any of these guys were missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really solid showing again. And, I mean, we alluded to it in the preview show a bit there, James, of we wanted to see them do a similar go out and put out a similar product to what we did against Miami, against a team that was a little bit more high caliber. Mm-hmm. And we saw that in the results of this game. We saw a similar attack, a similar result. Unfortunately, that similar result included another last-minute gasp there. And I know we're going to get into that. And I know we were talking about it already in the group chat, especially as it was going on. But you know, it's an encouraging thing, as we've been talking time and time again, and I know I keep using that word encouraging over and over again, but it truly is, to see this team sort of catch fire towards the end of the season. Unfortunately, sometimes that fire got a little too heated with fans, and we'll get into that too. But, you know, it's really exciting and a positive thing for a fan of this sports team to see positive product go out on the field week after week when it matters most in the season. So let's keep this momentum up, and it's going to be a fun postseason if we can continue. Woo! Apparently, I did not have my camera set up as good as I thought I did. But for those of you who are on YouTube, you're going to see a little bit of a slide there. But yeah, let's keep this momentum up, and we're going to have some exciting things to talk about moving forward. But I'm excited to talk about this game in particular.
Yeah. Well, it's really encouraging we've talked about this a lot throughout the season, and in the preseason, where we have such good depth. You know, we talked about how most of even our practice squad were like, we weren't taking from other squads, we were taking from within our own, and it was hard to cut down from that, 90 to the 53. And so to think about like how our O-line is doing when we've got a fourth string tackle in is incredible, and that they're finally like jiving together. And so you look at it, and I mean, there are moments where you can tell it's a little discombobulated. We have to take those forced timeouts because just, it's not looking right. But to see them jive well and have one of the best running games we've had all season, multiple years. I mean, we rushed for over 200 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Aaron Rodgers had more rushing yards than the entire Detroit team. Like, I love to see that. So excited to talk more about it.
Yeah. So many positives from this game. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that we still have the Detroit Lions Stadium in the background behind it. It's because we own that field. We as Steelers fans own Detroit at this point. That Super Bowl victory with Jerome Bettis getting his final nod was there. This was Derek Harmon's homecoming game, and what a performance by Derek. Really multiple times throughout this game. There's a fantastic breakdown on SteelersDepot.com. If you get a chance, check it out. Derek Harmon made Penei Sewell look silly multiple times throughout this game. That is, in many people's opinion, the number one right tackle in all of professional football. If it's not him, it's Lane Johnson, right? Those are number one, number two. Take your pick. Top 5 offensive tackle in all of football, left or right, easily. Derek Harmon pushed him around a number of times in this game. He threw him to the ground a number of times in this game. He put a swim move on him so fast that Penei Sewell completely whiffed on him. This is a 335-pound man that did all this. What a game from Derek. But we're going to get to it. Let's start with the offensive side of things. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers, where we like to. In another game where I felt like Aaron had good ball distribution, was hitting people all over the field. Probably still could use the middle of the field a tiny bit more than they did in this game, but they did spread it out. They did hit guys deep. They did hit them intermediate. They did hit them behind the line and put people in good positions to win. And honestly, even as we look at this 27 for 41, there was a number of dropped balls in this game. DK Metcalf had a number of catchable balls that he did not pull in. I think his concentration was a little bit off at the beginning of this game after the incident with the fan. But nobody let that get in the way of production on the field. DK got back in the game and started making some plays later on. Aaron never wavered in his faith in him and kept on throwing it to him, regardless of the fact that he dropped a couple of balls. And that goes so far for a guy's confidence. Just putting people in position to win, throwing catchable passes. Once again in this game, Aaron Rodgers with that IQ play. They're trying to do a substitution. I'm going to snap the ball before they can get the guy off the field and get a free play. Like, Aaron's done this 2 games in a row now where he's just pulling that IQ move, and the other team doesn't have Mike Tomlin to catch it and call a timeout. Like, this is something that we've seen in the past. That's part of why Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin have so much respect for each other, is because Tomlin pays attention to that stuff, will call a timeout in that situation to not get that penalty of the 12th man on the field. These other head coaches that are some of the better head coaches in the NFL, according to most people's opinion, again, Dan Campbell being thought of as one of the best head coaches in NFL right now, didn't catch it. He didn't catch it, neither did anyone else on his staff, and they didn't call a timeout, and we got a free first down out of it. So, I love that Aaron seems to be getting sharper as the season's going on, and becoming a better scrambler somehow as the season's going on too. I don't know what that's all about.
I love to see it. I think he's in total control of this game. Like, we've had a couple ups and downs throughout the season where it looks like he is just scrambling, like he is panicked. And the past 3 games, especially yesterday, he was just in total control. And it's games like these that show why we made the move for him. Again, like what you said, James, he has the football IQ, and he's operating in that IQ and not just going off of athleticism. Like, he is making sure that he is pinning weaknesses where he notices it and then capitalizing on that. So great game from Aaron.
Yeah, on top of that too, seeing him not get shaken by some miscues and some lack of success early on. Um, I think it was early on in the game. There was very, very few sacks in this game, which was a positive thing with how beat up our O line is, and not quite James's key to success of one or less, but just past it with two. But right on the money there, James, with that of keeping Aaron upright. But when he did go down a couple times early in the game, because I think it was early in the game that he went down, the O line continued to improve throughout the game, and so did Aaron, and so did the rest of the team. Like, they didn't let those mistakes shake them. They took that and then they improved upon what they were doing. They learned from it. They stopped putting Kenneth Gainwell out there to be a blocker on Aiden Hutchinson and put in a better guy. So they made so many times throughout the season. We've talked about, even on the show, not seeing adjustments from this team. Mm-hmm. And it seems that especially with these past two games, I didn't get to catch as much of the Ravens game, but with Miami and with Detroit, we built on what we did in the first half and then made adjustments to go out and do better in the second half. Mm-hmm. And again, I alluded to, and I'm sure we'll get to it when we get to the defense, there was a little bit of a push at the end, and that can make things heart racing and gut wrenching and all that kind of stuff, as we know as Steelers fans. But to be able to go out there and put up enough points that doesn't matter is what this team has been for a long time. And hopefully we can continue to clean it up to the point where it's not even that nail biter of an ending where you're out there and you're worried about a final play. Hopefully we can continue to make adjustments to the point where we're going out there and just finishing games as well. And some of that's an execution, which we'll talk about when we get to some more of the game here as well. But really encouraged by Aaron improving, the team improving. And even I think of that missed catch by Valdez-Scantling on that one deep shot. Once he and Aaron can get back into a rhythm, it's going to be a lot of fun to see some of these veteran guys out there, because Thielen's been improving, MVS has been improving. I can't wait to see more of this team, especially against the Browns coming up. But we're on the Detroit game. I'll curb my excitement.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially on that MVS thing, man. Once again, he finds himself torching his defender and getting open, and Aaron hit him. You got to think that MVS must have just lost that ball, because when he dove out, the ball hit him in the wrist. So he kind of went too far with his hands on the play. He got there. He was in position. It was a catchable ball. Wasn't easy by any means. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that everybody's going to make that catch every single time, but think about the difference in the game if he does.
Right.
If he does make that catch, if DK catches a couple of these that get off of his hands, we're talking about a game that's nowhere near as close as what it was. What about if Boswell makes his field goal? Then at the end of the game, you're up by 8 points instead of only up by 5.
Or Darnell doesn't fumble on the goal line.
Yeah. This is a game that we beat a team that was one of the favorites to represent the NFC at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. We knocked them out of the playoffs and didn't play even close to our best game, but still put up a crap load of points and I think more yards than we have in any game this season. Yeah. I don't know that for a fact, but I don't remember us being this close to 500 in any other games. We had 251 yards passing and 230 rushing. That's almost 500 for the offense, which is for this team monumental this season.
It's a shame that Cody's not able to join us today because he's been asking for it all year.
Right.
And you better believe he'd be checking the totals on every single game to fact check me to make sure that I'm telling the truth.
You know what he'll do in the I need a comment from him today. Be like, here's the stats.
Drop it in the comments, Cody. We love you and we miss you.
But no, I have to say, what I also loved, even with these missed opportunities, which is funny coming from me because I'm like, I hate a missed opportunity. But I like the fact that we didn't resort to just dump off passes. Mm-hmm. We didn't lose trust in the fact that Aaron could throw the ball and throw it for distance, not just yep, let me chuck it 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage and hope that we get maybe meaningful yak after that. And then, so I feel like Arthur Smith really did a good job opening up the playbook and us seeing stuff that we haven't seen all season. So
yeah,
Aaron alluded.
Go ahead.
Aaron alluded to that a little bit after the game too, commenting on how Arthur Smith really kind of opened up the playbook and gashed a team where he saw weaknesses, which is something that is good to do because then you don't have to necessarily pull out all the stops, but you can just use what's working and go out there and have productive offense. We had a drive that lasted over 8 minutes in this game, which was something we haven't seen from this team for quite some time. So we got those long sustained drives we were looking for too. And I'm looking for more, give me more. Come on, Arthur Smith, keep bringing these in. So, I can't say enough about that either.
Well,
yeah, I mean, for real, Arthur Smith. He deserves it for this game. That was just a good performance from him. We saw the middle of the field open up with Adam Thielen there over and over, right? 4 catches for Adam Thielen in this game for 49 yards. It seemed like most of them were over the middle. And just really showing his value, again, not having to be a 4.3 40-yard dash guy like everybody else in the wide receiver room to add extreme value to the room. Last week, we saw him really excel in the blocking game. This week, we see him move the chains over and over as a receiver. So awesome to see that kind of performance out of him. And we're starting to see, hey, we've been banging our head against the wall in this area or that area with this guy. Like all year long, it just isn't happening with Jonnu Smith receiving the ball, right? Yep. But boy, he looked good running the ball in this game.
And last game. Jonnu for halfback, 2026.
I mean, is that why you don't play Caleb Johnson in this game? I think that's exactly why you didn't dress Caleb Johnson in this game, because you knew you were going to run a couple of plays to Jonnu where he's featured as the running back and highly successful. 2 carries, 28 yards. One of them was 20 yards, for crying out loud. You don't get that out of a tight end playing as running back, but he's just more athletic than most tight ends. And he's getting to show that athleticism with these designs and these play calls. So I'm all for it, because this is just going to open up him as a receiver more. Yeah. Teams are going to start keying on him as a running back. You're going to play action to it, and then he's going to sneak out because everybody's going to go into panic mode, thinking, oh, crap, do we still have the wide receivers covered? They're going to turn and bail, and Jonnu's going to be sitting wide open and start getting some catches for some yards. So I love how he's doing one thing to set something else up. Again, we saw a variation off of the Spartan, the tush push, right? This is yet a new variation off of it with a turnaround, a handoff to Kenny, and Kenny takes it for a big gain. So just Arthur was really in his bag in this game, and really neat. You're hearing a lot now too of the communication between the players and the coaches, and a lot of this being instructed by Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin went to Patrick Queen a couple weeks ago and said, hey, I need more complaints from you. And that's got to be a weird thing for a player to hear, but he wanted Patrick Queen to communicate more with the defensive coordinator throughout the week on what he liked and what he didn't like about how things were being called. Mm-hmm. Put me in a position that I feel is more successful as a player. That's happening, and you're seeing as a result, Queen's putting some awesome performances together out there. Yeah. Seeing it on offense, too. Guys are being in different positions than what we're used to. More creative plays, more usage of different people. That's happening as a result of listening to the feedback from the players and having that good rapport between the coaching staff and the players. And this, to me, a lot of this just kind of goes to show, too, like, if you're a player on this team and you hear the entire crowd chanting to fire your head coach, and you truly love your head coach, and you truly think that you're not playing as good as you should be playing, and it's not his fault that they're losing some, you're going to play your butt off after that. Yeah. And that seems to be exactly what's happening. These guys are rallying around Mike Tomlin. They're rallying around each other. They're playing some great football right now, and you're strapping wins together. What do you know?
2 thoughts off of that, James. Yes. Number one, I really want to highlight what you said about Thielen, but give that to the rest of that wide receiver group too, because these veteran guys are making all of the difference on a lot of these third down conversions, because you get a guy out there like Calvin Austin, who's not the biggest guy. He's not going to be able to muscle through a guy or two to gain that extra yard and a half or 2 yards to be able to get that first down, like you have in a Thielen, who's a bit bigger body guy, who also can throw a block and spring Jalen Warren for an extra 5 yards. Mm-hmm. You get Valdez Scantling, who's got chemistry with Rodgers, who knows where to be on that route and time it right to be able to get the convert. So you get these guys in there. Heck, Scotty Miller coming in and making a couple big plays after he kind of disappeared for a little while with injury and things like that. These guys who have been around the league are just more confident, and they go out there and they're able to just do what needs to be done with a guy like Aaron to be able to create that production. And then part two of what I wanted to address on James's awesome comments there is congratulations, Mike Tomlin, on keeping the above 500 streak alive and giving the Steelers the record for the longest streak in the NFL with 22 seasons in a row, no losing seasons. So some people are going to gripe and complain about it. I'm sure in the comments below, please do. I'd love to hear it. Come at me with it. But say what you will about it. This organization has been winning for 22 years, and that's for the past 19 seasons in a row, thanks to Mike Tomlin. So say what you will about the man, but these players love to play for him. They went out, and after people were calling for Tomlin, they proved them wrong, because as James has alluded to, there was coaching in this game that played into the win as well. So, you know, it's a whole organization, big picture. And yeah, we were probably a little premature to call for Tomlin's job. And I'm not saying we did. We said he was in the hot seat, which he should have been at that point in time. But that also lights the fire under the players to go out and do what they have been doing. So it's a full circle kind of thing.
Well, we've talked about that before, like on previous shows, because what makes me think of is it's like we've finally hitting rock bottom, you know, like with those losses. You've got your whole city that is now like, we're done with Tomlin. Like that's rock bottom for this league or for this team. You know, never has the city. It's not like we're the Pirates.
Yeah.
And the city is just not like sell the team as every single team makes it on the college football. Like, so, you know, I felt like that was the direction that they're heading. And so, you know, it takes getting to rock bottom to be like, something has to change, which we had talked about before, probably years ago on the podcast, of like, what's actually going to be the bottom line to make changes, to get something different. And so, and that can be an all around thing. Like, it's not just on Tomlin. It, like you were saying, James, it's on the players who love their coach and they're like, crap, we got to do something to make sure that this stops, because we can't have our city not behind us. It's demoralizing for us. So we've got to figure out, check out internally and externally, what are we doing? How can we make this better? And so I just think it's interesting. I'm like, all right, well, maybe that was rock bottom. And they're finally like, all right, let's get it together and prove to this city that, you know, it's not just Tomlin, you know, it's us too. So
I think it goes to show a lot for the integrity of these guys too, because a person with good integrity and good morals doesn't let someone else take the fall for them. You know what I mean? Like if you've got a boss at work and you did something poorly and they say, no, that was my fault. Like, you're gonna be like, no, it wasn't. I messed up. Like, that's on me. I messed up. I did something wrong. It's not your fault. And it should make you mad if somebody's blaming your boss when you do something wrong. Past that, little known thing people aren't talking about a lot. Tomlin haters are going to hate hearing this from me if they haven't heard this before. Mike Tomlin is 2 wins away from breaking the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise record for most wins as a coach in the regular season.
Wow.
2 wins. So he can break it at the end of the season by beating the Browns and beating the Ravens, which seems
very possible.
Seems pretty doable from where we're standing right now. So will they bench people or start people? We're going to find out as this next week goes on, right? Next weekend's games are going to tell us a lot. But another thing that tells us a lot is a team having the heart to outmuscle somebody in front of them and run all over them. Let's talk about this run game, folks, because, wow, this was the best game of Jaylen Warren's career. He said, hey, 145-yard run's awesome, but let me bust off a second one just in case you didn't like that first one enough. And both of them to the left side behind a backup left guard and a backup left tackle who are playing above the expectations. It's almost as if their coach is telling them the standard is the standard. Get out there and play like the Pro Bowlers in front of you. And they're doing exactly that. I mean, Broderick Jones isn't a Pro Bowler, but Isaac Seumalo is.
Yeah.
So these guys are putting some real nice performances together on the offensive line. In this game, I saw Dylan Cook only get beat one time by Hutchinson, and that was a speed rush up the edge where he thought he had Gainwell helping him, and Gainwell just did not get into position. So they're both kind of to blame on that one in my book. So Dylan Cook, not a perfect game, but another very, very good game. And Jalen Warren just looking like a whole new man out there. We knew he had this speed. We knew he had this elusiveness and power. But boy, did he put it together in this game. My God.
Yeah, absolutely. A great game by all sides of the offensive line specifically. Aiden Hutchinson is able to flip to both sides, and so he was trying to get the most favorable matchup, and he only ended up with 2 sacks in this game. You know, he's a young guy who's widely argued as one of the premier edge rushers in the league. I mean, you get him up in the same conversations as Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. I don't think anybody necessarily argues he's number 1 unless you're a delusional Lions fan. But, you know, he's up there in that top 3, top 5 conversation with the Nick Bosas. And like other than that, it's like those 5 that are the top 5, and nobody really is going to argue you on that. Yeah. So to have a 4th string backup who's in his second career start,
yes.
Second career start, and you're telling me that Aiden Hutchinson got 2 sacks in this game? Come on now. I mean, like, it's not a perfect performance, but you're going up against one of the best edge rushers in the league. You can't say enough about this guy. I love Dylan Cook. Dylan Cook is my favorite Steeler for now. Adam Thielen's making a push, but for right now, Dylan Cook is my favorite Steeler.
Again, 4th string. And again, like kind of talking about what I said earlier about speaking to the depth of our team. He's the 4th string, and he is doing his job. I mean, I don't think we could ask for much more than that, and he's doing it well. It's not a half-assed job. Like he's doing well. So
yeah, his hand placement, footwork, everything is just pristine. It's crazy. We kind of at some point got to give Pat White a little bit of credit. He's really coaching these offensive linemen up. I mean, Dylan Cook went from being an okay backup to being a guy you can plug in at left tackle and play this good. That doesn't happen by accident. That involves some coaching, obviously some hard work on the player's part, but you got to have some coaching in place to develop a guy like that.
Yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson, Aiden Hutchinson had 3 tackles. I just want to throw that out there in this game. 3 tackles. 2 of them were sacks, and then 1 other tackle outside. That's it this whole game.
But was the 1 sack, wasn't it like he fell into Rodgers? Like it wasn't even it was like weird. I like watching, like, does that count?
Yeah, if he's the only one that makes contact, yeah.
Yeah, it just looked like it was on accident. Like he just like haphazardly fell into Aaron Rodgers. And then I was like,
I was a lot more impressed with his sack on the right side versus Fautanu and McCormick, because that one he kind of swiped past both of them, just boom, boom. And just like that beat 2 of our best offensive linemen. I was like, wow.
I think that sack was, he kind of caught, he blew past Fautanu, who just kind of whiffed, and then McCormick was kind of caught off guard because Hutchinson wasn't supposed to be there that fast, so he was like, oh no, and then he missed his assignment too. But not much you can do on that one. That was just a stud player doing stud player things.
That's it. Guys at that level of play are gonna make plays like that. That's just the way it works. And maybe we start talking about Kenny Gainwell like this, huh? Kenny keeps on putting games together like this. Pittsburgh's going to have no choice but to pay this dude.
Or somebody else will.
This is a good problem. It's a good problem.
Lots of extension talks to talk about at the end of this season, because everyone's making a great case for us to extend them. So, including Kenny, which, my gosh.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think he is going to be the odds-on favorite right now to win the ESPY for Catch of the Year. What a catch on the sideline. Is just a complete mismatch to have him one-on-one with any linebacker. And Alex Anzalone is one of the better cover linebackers in the NFL. But the adjustment he made to that ball, fighting through the pass interference, catching it while laying on his back, having the wherewithal to get up knowing that he did not get contacted, and still finding his way into the end zone with time expiring in the half. Like, everything about that is just huge IQ, huge skill level. We've seen him making these ridiculous catches week after week, fingertip catches just above the grass. Just, boy, is he making some plays. And not to be outdone, his own rushing performance, 9 carries for 50 yards. That's an awesome rushing performance. Yeah. But today as a receiver was even better yet with 5 catches for 78 and 45. Once again, the magic number 45 coming on that touchdown catch. Oh, what a play, man.
Well, and he have the most receptions on our team.
Yeah.
The leading receiver on the team is the backup running back.
Yeah, I think he just has him in this game. Yeah.
Hey, I'm not complaining though. Kenny's been productive and he's won us games, especially when Warren's not been able to dress. He's shown up and shown that he's embracing the standard is the standard. You know, it becomes a cliche at times, but there's a reason that Tomlin preaches it, and there's a reason it's been working this year because guys have that mentality of, okay, I'm that guy up, and it's been working. And it's great, too, to be able to utilize those guys without having to have the starter out of the game or injured or something like that, to see them performing at starter level as a backup. It's great. So it's going to be a fun end of the season here so far. I can't wait for more, but I'm just getting giddy looking over the stats of the game, too, just because we're seeing good things.
Yeah, absolutely.
That increases that. Sorry, go ahead, James.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
It opens up the playbook. I feel like we have so many more options on offense, and we're actually starting to use it, which, you know, we've been preaching since the beginning of the season. We have all of these offensive threats that we are not utilizing in the way that we should be. And I feel like yesterday's game was such a good example of, you know, Aaron had 9 different targets, right? Like 9, yeah.
9 different guys caught it. 10 different targets, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because MVS. So I'm like, that is just to see that, and I'm like, finally, because then how does a defense respond to that? Mm-hmm. We were not predictable yesterday, which, because I mean, so many times I'm like, all right, here comes the dump off pass, and then they'd shock me, and I'm like, oh, okay, great, love that, you know. But to see Gainwell just get better and better every week, and even improve his performance with rushing and not just the receiving, because then it's harder to defend him because you don't know what you're going to get. I'm like, you can set him up to rush, you can set him up to receive, and we have a threat either way. So,
and just like Kenneth Gainwell was eating in the receiving game, you should get yourself down to eat at the Edinburgh Hotel Bar.
Support for Steelers by the Lake is provided by the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, serving a variety of lunch and dinner specials every day, including steak, seafood, Italian pasta dishes, and more. They're located at 100 Meatville Street in downtown Edinburgh. Information is available at 814-734-5103 or online at edinburghhotelbar.com.
Had to get it in there. We love the Edinburgh Hotel Bar just like we love our Steelers. So,
absolutely. On to the receiver core, right? I mean, 230 yards out of this rushing team can't be understated how important that was to have that kind of performance. And that keeps it so well balanced, opens up the passing game that much more because they have to stay up. They have to respect how well you're running the ball. Really opens up some passing lanes, and they spread it all over the place. Adam Thielen with 4 catches on 4 targets in this game, showing the value of that type of player. Scotty Miller gets in the game due to Calvin Austin's hamstring injury, right?
Right.
Gets three targets, catches all of them. So these seasoned veterans coming out there and catching everything thrown their way. Not the best game for MVS, unfortunately, but if he catches that long one, we're talking about an awesome game for him and a touchdown there too. So just these guys that are thought of as like the aging veterans that can't possibly help us are really helping us right now. Mm-hmm. And some of it is just the attention to detail, knowing where to sit in between defenders. Scotty Miller did an excellent job dragging those toes and keeping them in bounds on the sideline.
He did.
It's these little details that your seasoned, expert, veteran guys do routinely that maybe the young guys just aren't doing every single time right now. And that doesn't mean they can't do it in the future, but the more you see it from other guys in the room, the better chance you have of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to see the diverse group of pass catchers in this game. And I know I was calling for 3 receptions each for 60 yards, but they got at least 3 receptions each for 56. And if Darnell doesn't fumble, we got the 60. So I'm counting those yards that he got before the fumble in my key because then my key is correct. No, I'm just pulling the string there, but it was close. And you know, seeing the importance of the situation in which the plays come, because it's not what we were seeing before where it's you get a pass behind the line and then you get blown up and then it's a loss of yards. You're seeing much less of that and a lot more of good blocking out front. As we talked about last week, James, you mentioned using the read option when it's meant to be used and not as the last final option when you have nothing else there and then getting blown up. And then you see Rodgers being able to make those third down conversions on some of those third and long situations that you get into because he's got those reliable hands either at the sticks or able to push through in terms of knowing where to be, how to get in position to scheme yourself open for Rodgers to make a play. So you get some more high IQ football out of some of these guys. And to see it spread around makes you become less predictable because if you're just going to DK all the time every game, and then he's starting to get double teamed, and then it's a one-dimensional passing attack. But when you have such a successful run game, and then you're able to mix it up with pass plays in between, it brings the run game back open, and you have a machine that's chugging along and moving down the tracks, and it's not becoming a stagnant offense that we've become somewhat accustomed to in the more recent years where we've had less adequate, for lack of a better word, or less intelligent quarterback play.
Yeah, less on both sides, right?
Yeah.
I would have to agree with you there, and it's going to be interesting to see how this looks the next 2 weeks here. We'll just talk about it while we're in the wide receiver room. Unfortunately for DK Metcalf, he had an altercation with a fan. The report from DK is that the fan said some pretty despicable things, using racial slurs at him, insulting his own mom. DK took offense to it, grabbed him by the hair and kind of poked at him. Did not land a punch. It did appear almost as though he did try to punch him. Apparently there's a new angle out that shows that it was more of like a grab and push than it was an attempted punch. It does appear as though DK is going to be fighting this suspension because he is getting hit with a 2-game suspension for it. It will be heard by Roger Goodell. That's not the best thing in the world unless Roger decides to pawn it off on somebody else and doesn't want to hear it. So hopefully DK can kind of prove his case. Or maybe just the Packers take care of business and beat the Ravens on Saturday, and then it doesn't matter that he gets a 2-week rest.
Or both.
It could end up a little bit of a blessing in disguise because with Calvin Austin out with this hamstring injury, I mean, maybe he can play, maybe he can't. This is going to force Roman Wilson back into the lineup.
Yep.
This may give him the opportunity to prove that he's learning while watching and maybe put some tape out there that, again, makes us even less predictable by having another weapon back introduced into the offense. I'm sure we'll see a healthy dose of Adam Thielen, of Marquez Valdes-Scantling, even some Scotty Miller as he earned some time in that last week's game. Yeah. But I feel like Roman's going to get back into the lineup, and I think that Aaron's going to want to try to get it to him a few times to try to get that kid some confidence going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
There are some reports, too, that this was a fan that had been kind of a problem for DK in his time in Seattle as well. Again, not sure how credible all of that is. It's been coming out of several different sources, so who knows where the rumor, if it is a rumor, came from or where that started, if there's truth to it. So we'll see what the appeal on that suspension looks like as DK is indeed fighting this. We'll see if it gets it lowered to a 1 game or whatnot. Obviously, you can't have guys throwing punches, but I mean, if someone was saying terrible things about my mother, I'd probably be pretty mad about it as well. So
but
I like what Tomlin said, how he didn't see it. He didn't get to talk to DK about it, so he had no comment on it. That's basically how I feel, is like a lot of people are going to weigh in on this. We weren't in that conversation. We don't know what happened. So it's not somebody I saw commented on one of the videos. Was it mic'd up? Were you in that conversation kind of thing? So it's like nobody knows really what was said except for those two. So I'm sure there will be proceedings for it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think the best thing that he can do is just not interact with fans once you're on the field, which, you know, as a fan being on the other side and a fan who, you know, is respectful to athletes, you know, that would take away the experience of like, oh, I get to interact with an athlete, but like nose to the ground, stay focused and locked in on the game. And then that way you're never in this situation of a he said, she said kind of thing, because unfortunately, unless there was a third party that overheard it or another fan who would be willing to go to bat for whatever happened, or even if that could be possible. But you don't want to create that, and you don't want to create that event anyway. So to just kind of stay away from the fans.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more on that. It's a shame because I feel like he's been doing a good job of keeping his temper even keel on the field.
Yeah.
And then loses it with a fan on the sideline. So it's just a tough look for him. A very tough look for him. But, just great performance from this group in general. A high percentage of catches from multiple people. The dependability of Thielen, Pat Fryermuth, Scotty Miller. If you throw it their way, they catch the ball.
I was so happy to see Muth get targeted.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you. I mean, some of his targets I didn't like because it didn't give him any opportunity to run for more like yards, or like the catch was real weird and then he couldn't actually catch it. But I'm like, at least he's still getting targeted, because that was our worry a couple weeks ago. Like there was a game where he had no targets. And so to get him the ball to boost his confidence so that he is still fighting for this team. I really like that. And I do like with the potential of Roman Wilson, even though we don't want DK out and we don't want Calvin to be injured, but Roman Wilson runs routes well and gets open. And so I would have loved to see him in yesterday's game when we actually had good pass options to do, and our passing game was so open because we were running the ball so well. Like if he could have run his routes, you know, what else, how many more points could we have scored, you know, kind of a what if game, but that is potential for next week. So
it's, if he keeps his head on straight, this is a fantastic opportunity for him. Because realistically, you know, Calvin Austin's contract runs out at the end of the year. Hamstring injuries can be tricky. Maybe he's ready next week. Maybe he's not ready until the playoffs. You never know. Hamstrings can last people months sometimes before they're fully healthy. So the opportunity is right in front of him. If he takes advantage of it, he could be a very important part of this offense next season. We could easily be saying after these next 2 weeks, man, I can't wait for the duo of DK and Roman Wilson next year, and not even be thinking about drafting a wide receiver other than grabbing somebody late that can return punts and kicks. You know, that would be ideal. So keep your head up, Roman. We'd love to see you do well in these next couple games.
We'd also love to have you on the podcast if you're listening. So if you are, just reach out. You know, we'll happily have you on and talk to you. But yeah, James, you hit the nail on the head, and you knew right where my head was going. I'm the mock draft maniac, I like to call myself every so now and then. And I've already been starting just to get a sense of, you know, who's going to be in the draft, who's going to be available around what pick area. And, you know, everything's going to shift as the season shakes out here and we see whose needs are where and all that kind of thing, where the draft position falls. But it's often early on in those drafts. It's like in the drafts I'm doing now, it's like, all right, are we going receiver? Are we going offensive line? Are we going corner? So it's like, it depends on where things shake out, where all those things lie. And if you don't have to worry about wide receiver, well, that makes your first round pick a whole lot easier in terms of who you're going after. So Roman, we love you, buddy. Keep your head up. If you get out there on the field, you know, he's got that mentality that we've talked about this whole time. It just depends on whether or not he can get that confidence. So hopefully he gets the opportunity. Hopefully he makes the most of it.
Let's be real. He's listening. So,
yeah. Come on, Roman.
So shout out to the O-line in this group. Honestly, you don't get 230 yards rushing in a game without an awesome blocking performance from the offensive line. So their blocking was just pristine. Guys sealing just like they're supposed to. Everybody hitting a hat on a hat. Everybody is just blocked up. And we're seeing that's when you get these big runs. Everybody hits their blocking assignment like they're supposed to. One-on-ones, you don't have to pancake somebody. You just got to get in the way and stick to them and not fall off that block until Jalen runs past you. And boy, did they do an awesome job of it in this game. Like Nick said, we only allowed 2 sacks, and both of them were from one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. In most people's opinion, a top 5 pass rusher. So you're going to lose some snaps to a guy like that. That's just going to happen. But outside of that, they kept everybody else away from their quarterback and honestly kept them moving in the wrong direction in the run game. So I'm really happy with how things went for this offensive line in this group. Nick, looks like you got something to say.
4 tackles for loss in addition to the 2 sacks. That's it. We aren't accustomed to seeing 4 tackles for loss against our team. It's incredible. Like, I mean, the most tackles on their team came from Jack Campbell, and he's a linebacker, and most of that was trying to chase down Jalen Warren after he'd already ripped one off. So to see an offensive line that's, 1, very young, and 2, faced a lot of attrition on top of that, go out there and bully a team that's been, yes, hurt on defense, but it's not the front that's the problem, which is usually where you figure the run stopping is going to come from. And it's not the linebackers either. It was their secondary that was mainly banged up, and then their offensive line, which plays no factor in our run game. So, yes, the safeties were injured and the corners were injured, but it was mainly their secondary that they had issues with. So you figured that they were going to at least be able to try to stop the run, and we ran for 230 yards on them. They got 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and that's mostly coming from one of the best edge rushers in the league. So, yeah, I mean, go off, O-line, and continue to eat because we need it. We'll take it any day.
Yep.
Absolutely. And let's talk about defense because that's the next topic, right? And our defense really did their thing up until late in the game. And again, I kind of attribute some of that more to just the attrition of the game. You started to run out of healthy bodies.
Yeah.
That's really just what happened in this game. We saw Brandon Eccles go down, I want to say, in about the second quarter with a groin injury. He was unable to return. Joey Porter missed some snaps with an injury. He did come back late in the game. But you got to a point where you just ran out of guys. Jalen Ramsey had to play a significant amount of the second half, if not the entire second half, as the nickel corner, which then forced Chuck Clark into play, who had 3 opportunities for interceptions in this game and couldn't come up with any of them. And you have to think if Jalen Ramsey's playing safety in those positions instead of playing corner because of Eccles' injury, he probably makes 2 of those 3 picks. Maybe all 3.
All 3, for sure.
Maybe
all 3 for sure. When you're this close. Oh, that was
we had joked in the group chat, Clark for Jug Machine 2026 or 2025, like now, yesterday. So hopefully he gets some reps in there and works on his hands a little bit. But, I mean, at least he was there to make the play. So it could have been a bigger result in that. But, I mean, yeah, the turnovers would have been amazing because we wouldn't have had that nail-biter of an ending. But there were also some questionable officiating moments where there was like a hold on Highsmith on that tripping play that didn't get called, which probably would have had the penalties go like that. So then you have
enough for me. I was like, whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, and I'm sure if there's any Lions fans listening or watching this, or if you have a family member who's a Lions fan, they're going to bring up the final call of the game, which, as many people have highlighted, was a good call. There was offensive pass interference. When that happens, rules as written, the clock expires. It makes sense. You're not going to give the offense another shot at the end zone when they committed a penalty. That's a non-starter. So rules as written, the refs made the right call on that play. So it all washes out in the end. I'm not complaining about the refs. There were missed calls on both sides. But I'm saying there are things that got missed in that call. Overall, the refs called a very good game. You're never going to call a perfect game. So, it's always crazy when it gets down to those photo finish moments and then there's something rule-wise that comes in. Fortunately for us, it worked out this time. Unfortunately for them, it didn't. I'll take a little bit of justice for Jesse James because one of those catches didn't look like a catch to me, but we'll just leave that there.
And was one of the best defensive back plays in this game, maybe Y.A. Black?
Yeah. Go off, young man.
This dude, could he play safety? I don't know. Maybe middle linebacker. But in this game, we did see a couple of times that we've started to see recently. Again, they're getting into their bag. They're getting and playing. They're calling some plays that they have not called all season long these last few weeks. And one of the things they've started doing is dropping defensive linemen into coverage in certain plays, which is completely unpredictable and just something the quarterback doesn't ever see coming. And Y.A. Black broke up a pass, dropping back in coverage, and the guy in the end zone was wide open. There was nobody around him. If Y.A. doesn't jump up and bat that ball down, it's a touchdown. Yeah. Just straight up, it's a touchdown if he doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. I saw Cam Hayward drop into coverage at least once in this game too. So you got some big men that got some ability to move a little bit, some mobility, their insistence to get their hands up to try to deflect passes, and they're making it happen. And let's be real, this is a monumental game against the Detroit Lions. I haven't looked into it. I'll let Cody fact check me when he watches back on the show. I can't imagine the Lions have had a worse game running the ball than this all season. They had 15 yards rushing as a team.
My key to success. I will claim my key to success there. We held them on well underneath the 60 yards that we needed. And the third quarter was very reminiscent of the third quarter against the Dolphins, where we shut down their run game and let nothing happen. I don't think it was negative yards, but it was very few yards, that's for sure. Two?
I think it was negative 2
positive yards? Negative 2. So it was negative yards again. But, that's what I'm saying. We had that safety that was integral to the game as well. So I don't know if that was in the third quarter. Regardless, defense came out, showed out, and it was a shutdown game that we called for in the pregame of saying, hey, we need to get the same product out there against a team that's a little bit more high octane, especially in terms of the offense. And we went out there and we did it. And yeah, it was scary at the end, but again, a little bit of garbage time, a bit of attrition. There were a couple plays. I think Cam Hayward got pulled out because he was just very out of breath as well from just being out there the whole game. Mm-hmm. So, it's you got to give some grace when you don't have your starters out there and there's some rookies still learning or some back of the roster guys who maybe don't have the experience that guys like Cam Hayward have to be going out there and putting out the same tape, but still played decent enough to get you out of the game as you needed. And I mean, as much as we rag on Chuck Clark, he had that one touchdown that Tesla had. He hit him pretty good, and it was just a great play by Tesla. So, you had a solid team that went out there, and we beat them. And we probably could have beaten them by a lot more if we had just converted on a few more, if we don't fumble, if we can clean up some of those mistakes like we talked about against the Dolphins as well. There's room for improvement on this team, and we just went out and beat one of the teams that was thought to be knocked them out of the playoffs because there's a very slim chance they can still get in if the stars align and the cow jumps over the moon. But we've essentially knocked out one of the teams that was thought to be in the race for the NFC Championship, and it didn't look too difficult. There was a struggle at the end, but we went out and we ran over them. 230 yards is nothing to turn your nose up at against any team. And then still putting up 29 points when we could have put up more too. Boz doesn't miss that field goal. We're over 30. So,
yeah. Valdez catches his. Darnell doesn't fumble. You're talking about 17 points right there.
There's not a penalty on the one touchdown that Warren had. We had one called back. So,
Yeah. No, I do think it was because how many games do I say we need long, sustained offensive drives? So I know we flipped to the defensive side of the ball, but I wanted to say this when we were on the offensive side of the ball. That was, even though there weren't a lot of points to show for it, one of the best third quarters in controlling the ball wise from the Steelers this entire season. They had complete control in the third quarter, which I feel like historically is when we lose control or we don't put up points, is typically in that third quarter. I don't know what it is about the third quarter that is like a kryptonite to us, but to have that kind of performance in third quarter, which then allowed the defense to rest because we actually won the time of possession battle in this game. Although our offensive snaps were pretty close together. But listen, I'm here for us winning time of possession. But at least that allowed our defense to rest up, especially with what you guys have been saying, the attrition that's been happening. And so for them to be kind of tired and starting to wear, like, we're running out of healthy bodies, the offense did a great job keeping the ball so that our defense did have time to rest and control on their side of the ball. So
I'm trying to find it because I know, here we go. Third quarter, we had 142 yards of offense. They had -2.
yeah. Great third quarter performance.
And I think last week it was like 163 to -20.
Yeah.
Like, it's a dominant performance in the third quarter. I can't agree with you enough on that, Jill. And let's talk about how they shut down this run game real briefly here, and then we can get back to our own defense. But this team David Montgomery had a 17-yard carry in this game. At the end of this game, Jahmyr Gibbs 7 carries for 2 yards. The whole team 12 carries for 15 yards. So outside of that 17-yard run, they ran the ball 11 more times for a -2 yards.
Love. Welcome back, Derek Harmon.
Welcome back,
The Derek Harmon effect. Yep.
The Derek Harmon effect is real.
It's something like 86 yards per game rushing we allow with him now, and like 170 without him.
It's crazy.
It's a very real thing how dominant this man is at the point of attack. He's not really movable. He handles double teams. He owned Penei Sewell. And I don't think it's because Penei Sewell isn't good anymore. I think Penei Sewell is just as good as he's always been. It's just Derek Harmon is that dude. And I am really excited for the future of this room because I feel like Derek Harmon, if he can stay healthy throughout his career, that's really been the only negative this year is he's had a couple nagging knee injuries. Luckily enough, neither one of them has been bad enough to be out a long period of time. But I think he missed 3 games both times. Mm-hmm. And then the second he comes back, just puts performances together just dominant.
Yeah.
Just dominant. And it's what you got to have. You have to start off with a dominant defensive front. Your big guys have to be willing to just be tougher than the other guy. And a lot of that is work that you've been putting on in the weight room, on the field for the last 6, 7, 8 years of your life. All the way back to high school, maybe even middle school. Were you going to the weight room or were you sitting down to play Madden? Like that, there's decisions that you have made along the way that have put you in position to be as good as you are. And Derek Harmon has made a lot of good decisions over the last 7, 8 years of his life. Yeah. And at 22 years old, he is dominating a perennial all-pro tackle.
Yeah.
In his rookie year, too. Yeah, no less. And Y.A. Black looks good, too. 2 solid guys for this room out of the same draft class, and they're just continuing to improve as we go. Yeah, it's exciting, especially since they get to be mentored by Cam for however long he has left. Hopefully, he is a Steeler for the rest of his career, however long he has left. And as of right now, that seems to be the case. But yeah, just going to be more and more exciting as we go.
Yeah, we got a couple sacks out of this defensive front this week too. That was one of my keys, hoping that these guys could get some sacks and tackles for loss in the middle. We got a sack from Cam Hayward. We got a sack from Keanu Benton, both of them getting back into that category. Keanu Benton very, very quietly creeping up on the team leaders now. I think that's 5.5 for him on the season with 2 guys at 6.5 and 1 at 7. He's a stone's throw away from leading this team in sacks, which no one had on their bingo card. I guarantee you that.
Not me.
He was also just quietly very productive in this game. When they ran at him, he made them pay for it because he had 2 tackles on this game. One was a sack, one was a tackle for loss. So when he was out there making plays, he was making the big ones, and that's what we wanted out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, you really can't ask for more out of these guys. I felt like they didn't really have to get deep into their bag on the defensive line. You saw some Asezio Tomewo in there, obviously some Y.A. Black. But I don't remember Logan Lee getting a single snap in this game, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah. Sure, I would like it to be so out of control like it was last week that Logan Lee gets an extended look like he did last week. Mm-hmm. But I'll also take not having to go that deep into the bag. Being able to dominate that well. Because if this team runs all over you, Logan Lee is going to be playing a lot more because the defensive line is going to be getting a lot more tired.
Right.
But you saw more fatigue in the linebacker room. I thought, poor Jack Sawyer, this was one heck of a test for him. And I felt like he really answered the call early in the game, and then fatigue really kind of set in on him. And late in the game, you saw a lot more Jeremiah Moon, not because Sawyer was injured, but just because Sawyer was just getting tired, man. He ain't used to playing that many snaps in the NFL right now.
Did log another tackle for loss. The team had 3 sacks, the third one coming from Kyle Duggar, and then 7 tackles for loss in this game, which really kind of set that tone and also established that we're going to bully you in your run game, and we're going to bully you in our run game as well. So love what we saw from this defense, getting after the guys and lighting them up as soon as they could. It wasn't quite the same as when we had Troy out there, but gosh, it started to look a little bit like it when we started lighting them up behind the line every now and then. It was exciting and fun.
Yeah.
Did anybody else think that Alex Highsmith was just absolutely dominant against the run in this game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just early on, again, anytime they ran his way, he's tossing the blocker aside and he's like, yep, you're all mine. Here comes the ground, you're going to the ground. It was just like,
come to Papa.
Christmas hug.
Yeah. He's playing like he's Calais Campbell size out there, 6'9", 310. But it's just our regular Alex Highsmith playing bigger than he is. Yeah. So, man, I love that about Alex. I think that he's had a very tremendous season. I wish he wouldn't have missed as many games with injury as he has, but I really feel like he's stepping up to the plate. Definitely, it's either he's dominant against the run in a game or he's dominant as a pass rusher in the game. But he's dominating in something like every week. So you can't really ask for better out of your number 2 pass rusher. And in this game, he was your leading pass rusher with both TJ and Herbig out. So hopefully we can get those other gentlemen back to help at least give a breather to this room, man.
Right.
You need at least one more guy in this room. Jack Sawyer can't play 70 snaps. That's too much for him.
Too much right now.
Middle linebackers. Y'all want to talk about them a little bit?
May as well.
Maybe our queen should talk about Patrick Queen.
My boy Pat Q. Well, I like what you were saying earlier, James, where it's like he's actually getting a chance to speak up for things that he notices are not fitting his style of playing middle linebacker. And so I feel like, again, we saw him all over the field. He was just a destruction, and it was great. We like seeing, because I feel like he goes through he's either really hot or really cold. And so it's never a nice little middle ground. And so I feel like yesterday was more of we weren't cold, we weren't all the way hot, but we were definitely somewhere in the middle because we were all around that ball. So I loved, he's my boy. I love him. Even when he's not playing his best, I still love him. I just feel like he's an asset to this defense when he's on, like, because he has great awareness of where the plays are happening and fights to go be where they're at. So
he's got that sort of field general role in the linebacker core where he ended up with tying with Duggar for the most tackles on the team. Didn't have the sack or the tackle for loss that Duggar had, but was still kind of that leader on the defense that you need, moving guys around, communicating, being able to provide that veteran mentality that sometimes we don't see out of this room, especially on games where he struggles. You know, you mentioned the hot and cold that we've seen out of him a lot, but as he's been given more grace to say things, it's showing that he still has that, and that it's not something that he just had when he was with the Ravens and then lost when he came over here. No, he's still got that. He just needs to be able to utilize it. And now that he is, it's showing a bit more production from him, not necessarily in the splash play area, but being able to communicate and be consistent and also enable other guys to make those plays. Because if he's covering somebody else and they don't go his way, he's not going to have the opportunity to make that splash play. But he's setting other people up for success by being able to navigate and be able to do what he needs to do to set them up for success as well, because that's what team defense is. It's not, I'm going to make the play, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. We say there's no I for team except for in the A-hole. So, you know, that's how that goes. Which
I feel like that helps, especially when it comes to like Wilson, you know, when they're both, I feel like there are times when they're both playing and it's like they're both fighting for the splash play instead of like one's dropping back being consistent. That way the other one can come up and make the splash play. when they're both on and being consistent, it allows that splash to happen because they're doing their job. They're taking care of the field. And then like that sets them up to maybe do a quick pass, get to the quarterback, or back down the pass. I mean, Peyton Wilson was, I feel like we didn't hear his name a lot, but I saw him all over the field. You know, he is such a good threat for our defense and is so valuable. And I really do wish, like, I know we use him for special teams because he's just incredibly athletic, but I would love to see some of his special teams duties relieved so that we can see him on every single snap on defense, because we notice when he's not on the field. That's true every game he plays. When he's not on the field, something big happens that you're like, Wilson was in, he would have been on that,
Yep.
So I want him playing every single snap of defense.
Can't agree with you more on that. I've definitely expressed my opinion on that one this season for sure. And I feel like these guys, they're making a good impact too with their blitzing. Blitzing the quarterback. They're getting in there. They're getting pressure. They're making the quarterback move off of his point, and just making things uncomfortable for the blocking scheme, which then sometimes frees some of these other guys up to win their one-on-ones.
Yeah.
So once again, we get a sack from a safety in a game. This time it turns into a safety for Kyle Duggar, which is just tremendous. Carson Bruner gets 3 tackles in the game. None of them on defense. All of them on special teams again.
He's killing it on special teams. You know what?
Yeah, boy, Bruner.
That's off the Bruner. He's killing it.
Yeah. And you have to feel like Ben Skoranek has a little bit of linebacker in him too, because what a hit on that punt.
He is an unsung. I've been saying this for weeks now. He is an unsung hero on our team. Like we would notice if he's not there. He is just so consistent. I love how hard he plays football. Like he will extend himself to the absolute limit to make sure that he's getting the play that he needs to, or he's covering the man that he needs to, or he's making a hard tackle like he did yesterday when he needs to. And unsung hero of our team.
Said it time and time again. I loved watching him go out there this time because he's got that Steeler mentality. I mention it every week. But he has that hand injury, so he's taped up, and his gloves just dangling there with the fingers not even filled out because his hand's so taped up. But you love to just see him go out there and wreck guys despite the fact that he's hurt. Skoronek's not getting many wide receiver reps at this point in time with that hurt hand, but he's still laying it all out there as a gunner.
And I feel like so he's still getting some wide receiver snaps, but only in the Spartan formation, right? So he was in there on that fake tush push that turned into the handoff to Kenny Gainwell. That tackle that he made it with one hand. Like if you watch the replay, he hits him around the waist and then wraps around his leg with his one good arm and tackles him with one arm, basically. A tremendous play by him. And I feel like one of the things we haven't seen yet that Arthur Smith, I think, still has in this bag, and I'll call my shot now on it. I think it's going to happen in the future. Tinfoil's way too tight on this. But I don't think they're going to call this until Ben Skoronek's hand is healed up enough that he doesn't have a cast on it anymore, because I think it's going to go to him. I think what's going to happen is they're going to call this tush push. Somebody's going to turn around and pitch it back to Aaron Rodgers. And by the time they realize that has happened, Skoronek's already going to be 10 to 15 yards downfield, because he's typically the only wide receiver in on the play. And there's only one guy then that can get enough separation to get down that field. And Ben Skoronek's the guy, but you're not going to throw it to him while he still has a cast on one of his hands.
Right.
So I think we're still a couple weeks out on that, because he just broke that thumb like last week. So maybe that's a playoff thing that we might see once that hand's healed up. But I swear they're going to pitch it back to Rodgers and throw out of this tush-push formation.
You heard it,
James, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on as well. I'm with you in this, because why else do they keep Aaron Rodgers out there when they could have an extra lineman out there?
Yes.
It's it's a thing that we haven't seen yet, and I think they haven't done yet because they want to keep it in their bag, as you mentioned, their bag of tricks to be able to pull out when they need it. But it doesn't make sense to make a play less effective by having a guy just stand there, unless, of course, you're having it be a play that you intend to use, like you just mentioned. And who knows, they've already pitched it to Gainwell a couple times. Maybe Gainwell's a second option on that play for Rodgers if Skoronek isn't able to get the separation. But you also figure Spencer Anderson's out there, and they've used him as a tight end a couple times too. So maybe we'll see him get that reception that we've been waiting for, James, for so long. But they have options on this play to do some trickery. So whether it's Tiskaronic or not, my tinfoil hat's right on with you.
Maybe you never even know. Maybe Connor turns around and hands it to Darnell next time because Darnell's always right behind him.
Yep.
You could see Darnell get a carry out of this formation.
Just jump over the line, you know?
Well, and it makes sense that he does stand back there because then you don't actually know. It helps us not be predictable.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If I magically disappear, my laptop is about to die. So
Man, I think that's a sign for special plays, special teams, special players. You know, we had Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell both perform very well on kick and punt return duties. Calvin Austin actually was the lone punt returner. But Jalen Warren, 2 for 50 with a long of 27. Kenneth Gainwell, 2 for 49, just behind him with a long of 29. So excellent return play from both of those guys. And then 1 punt return for Calvin Austin for 9.
Yeah.
Boz misses his first field goal in a long time, but it was a bad snap on the play. And I feel like that had a lot to do with it. Before we lose her, Joe, what's your game ball for this game?
Well, I feel like we collectively need to give one to Kenny Gainwell. Like, I just feel like we all can give one to him because
heads up, spoiler alert, that's Cody's. So give you another one.
No, I know that. That's why I'm saying this is a collective Steelers. But like we all are giving it to him.
Yeah.
Football IQ was unmatched.
Yeah.
But I am going to give it to Aaron Rodgers for being in control and just showing a complete dominant performance, staying calm and collected, not panicking. Football IQ just is unmatched. So my game ball goes to Rodgers.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Nick, what about you? Who do you got for a game ball?
Yeah, you know, I want to give it to so many people because the team's just been so complete recently. It's good to see, and it's a great problem to have. You know, I've got to kind of go with Kyle Duggar because that safety was such a huge momentum, not necessarily shift, but added to the momentum that we had and really energized that defense, you know, got us the ball back. I'm pretty sure that drive resulted in a touchdown. So, you know, just a huge momentum shift in this game, really setting the tone. 7 led the team in tackles, tied with Queen, but he was more productive with the tackle for loss and the safety. So just can't say enough about Duggar in this game. That's where mine's going.
Absolutely. That makes mine pretty easy. There's no way we can let all 4 of us go without Jalen Warren getting a game ball.
Yeah.
So that's where mine's going to go. I feel a lot of guys on the defense did an excellent job in this game, but we didn't have like that dominant performance from one guy.
Yes.
You know, lots of guys got 1 sack. We get the 1 safety from Duggar that you mentioned there. So I think that's an appropriate one. But outside of that, I can't justify anybody on the defense over Jalen Warren. Just his best game of his entire career. 2 45-yard touchdown runs. We've had a lot of seasons lately where we didn't get a single run that long. And he does 2 of them in this game, both getting touchdowns, and I think pretty much untouched on both of them. So absolutely tremendous performance from him. We've got a next show coming for you Saturday morning, so we'll tell you all about the upcoming matchup versus the Browns. Hopefully we'll have a little better insight on these injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else you guys want to add before we bounce out of here?
Merry Christmas to all the listeners who celebrate, because that is this week. So enjoy this time with your loved ones and rest and just take this season in for everything that it is.
Absolutely. Got that Steelers win to keep us warm this Christmas. So we can't thank you enough for listening. Please, if you would, give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I think I did that all correct. Don't forget those 5-star reviews. Make James very happy on Apple Podcasts. And subscribe, ring the bell. It doesn't cost you a thing. And until next time, this is Steelers by the Lake wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Subscribe, please.